Building your own base from scratch is one of the most satisfying things you can do in Project Zomboid, but it's a trap. Traps can be disarmed with enough knowledge. You can spend an insane amount of time perfecting your base. Build walls, floors, window frames, and doors. Go out to scavenge some proper windows to put in those holes, get some tile and cabinets, decorations, furniture. The amount of customization you can do is endless. You can even plaster and paint the walls. There's a small but vocal community out there who remind the developers to make sure their new tiles are pick-upable by the players so they can decorate their glorious bases with them. It is by far one of the best base building systems in the game I've played. Like most things in Project Zomboid, it's the broad strokes that define it rather than the perfect details, although sometimes those details do exist. For example, you can deconstruct doors you already have a key for and use the door handles you received to make a new door that works with the old key. Then, the zombies show up and start destroying everything you spent hours to make. That rare furniture you nicked from LV, gone. Containers filled with loot from scavenging runs, destroyed and the items scattered across the floor. It's very disheartening. If you check the forums or subreddit, you'll see the occasional complaint about how zombies continually attack someone's base. The normal answer to this is that there is no code that makes zombies attack player-built constructions. Instead, the zombies are following you after seeing you or hearing a sound you made. While I agree about the zombies following or hearing you, there is code that causes zombies to attack your constructions in a roundabout way. The first thing you need to know is that pathfinding zombies will attack barricades, windows, doors, player-moved furniture, and player-built stuff. The player isn't the only thing that can cause zombies to pathfind. The meta event system will randomly generate loud sounds to attract and move groups of zombies around. This does cause the zombies that would otherwise never bother your base to start pathfinding and attack it with no player interaction, other than the player being close enough for the zombies to exist rather than be simulated. That's trap 1. I built the square walls out in a field. While waiting for a meta event, which is turned on by default in all of the main game modes, the zombies ignore the walls. The moment a distant meta event sound goes off, the zombies that decide to path through the walls attack them. It is not always the player's fault that zombies attack their base. Let's say you really hate the fact that zombies will eventually destroy one of your plastered and painted walls. You could build your base way out where no zombies spawn, but that wastes your time with longer drives. Turning off meta events would stop the random attacks while still allowing your precious walls and furniture to be destroyed should you accidentally bring some buddies back with you, which is probably the most balanced answer to this problem. What if you're an absolute Chad and can kill thousands of zombies? Well, then you better like cleaning up corpses, because for trap 2, I get to inform you that player-built buildings do not block exterior corpse sickness like the pre-built buildings do. You can leave your base and wait for them to rot in a couple days if you don't want to join the corpse cleanup crew, but then what's the point of the base? Building a massive fence far enough from your base to avoid corpse sickness takes up time and still requires you to rebuild it when the inevitable happens. Turning off corpse sickness or using a mod that makes masks protect from it is my only recommendation if you're having this problem. What if you turn off the zombies' ability to attack player-built constructions? That's not a terrible idea. If they end up uselessly walking against your boarded up windows or furniture barricades, it's too extreme of an option when what we really need is an option to turn off their ability to attack player-built walls, unless they detect there is no way to enter through a window or door frame. The same thing can happen with furniture barricades. If there's a nearby way past the furniture, they should ignore the furniture. Nearby in this case meaning maybe a few tiles. That's what happens in pre-built houses after all. The zombies break in through the windows and the doors, and then ignore furniture because it's all pre-placed and doesn't usually create safe spots. Modifying a pre-built house cuts out a ton of hassle and allows you to base up somewhere that hasn't been cleared yet without fear of all your walls being destroyed. Just the defensive benefit of having zombies pour through known weak points is well worth it. But it also prevents you from having to deal with bugs, such as player-built walls not actually counting as walls due to the order you built things, which prevent your building from counting as a building, or bugs with zombie pathfinding via furniture next to walls making them think they can pass through. My only advice to base builders is to think hard about where you are putting storage containers to avoid places a zombie may pass through. That brings me to trap number 3. Items inside containers can burn, while ones laying outside cannot. It's funny that the messy way of throwing items all over the floor for storage is the fire-safe way to store them. Note you can organize that a bit with bags as they don't burn when on the ground. Now, I will say it's your own fault if your base burns down in single player. But on a multiplayer server with fire spread turned on, things are very different. A motivated troll will figure out how to get flaming zombies inside your base to burn all your items if given enough time. The vanilla safety features provided to safe houses are all bypassable. For those who are forced to join random public servers, good luck out there. Built or moved containers can be destroyed by zombies, while unmoved pre-built containers cannot. Players can also destroy built containers and some default placed ones as well. Once destroyed, the items are easily exploited off the ground, even in a safe house. For some items, they can be exploited directly out of locked and protected containers. But this video isn't about exploiting. I'll get back on topic. If you still want to make an item storage room full of loot, you should do it on the second floor, as zombies are unlikely to path to a second floor and destroy things if there is no player up there. In a completely player-built base, there's really no way to force the zombies to pathfind around stuff, aside from things like composters, traps, and staircases that the zombies cannot attack. It can look pretty sus, but it works. By the way, I checked, and the metal container you can make at level 4 metalworking does burn. All this information isn't meant to make you give up on making your own base from scratch. It's just that you should plan it out a little more carefully. For example, if your base isn't large enough, you should place your generator outside and away from the walls to prevent it from making zombies constantly attack your walls. This is beneficial as it will gather up nearby zombies for an easy cleanup later, even ones that have been drawn to the area via a meta event. You can go down the rabbit hole of min-maxing base location if you really want to. There's two primary ways zombies spread out within a cell. A cell is this large square you can see on the zombie population map. There's rally group settings that will slowly spread groups of zombies out, and there are migration ticks. Migration ticks will attempt to evenly spread all zombies in the cell. If you build your base in the middle of a cell and primarily kill zombies to the east, then zombies on the west side of the cell will walk to the east side when a migration tick happens. This means your base will regularly come under attack. If you want to truly min-max your base's location, you will want to first examine a population map for where zombies spawn. By default, zombies are urban focused, which looks a bit like this. You can then attempt to place your base in a cell that does not have a high population of zombies as a first step. The next step is to consider which direction zombies will be entering the cell from. Usually the direction the nearest city is in, but placing your base in a corner or edge will prevent migration ticks from sending the undead on a trek through your yard. In fact, it'll spread them out away from your base. Another thing to pay attention to is walls and fences. Zombies will walk all the way around a wall to get to the other side. This can mean a seemingly infinite amount of zombies exists at the end of a large fence. You will want to avoid those areas. The last step is to think about a water source. Yes, you can make or require enough rain barrels to avoid dying of thirst. The real benefit comes from fishing, as it is one of the easiest and most time-efficient ways to provide yourself with food. If you want to immediately start working on your base, then you will have to consider what's in walking distance, as you may not have consistent access to a car if you're spending most of your time chopping trees and building. Infinite fish within walking distance is a lifeline many undervalue. Desperate long-distance looting trips will lead to your untimely death. That's all. I hope you enjoy building your own base.